served on the Eisenhower.
Oh, yeah.
So the I Like Ike campaign buttons turned into one of the catchphrases for the ship.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, yeah, I've got actual I Like Ike campaign buttons.
That's sweet.
And then while I was on board, in the ship's store, they sold, and that was the only pin that was not standard Navy issue stuff that you could actually wear on your uniform. They had yellow ones and blue ones.
Huh.
And depending on, what time of year, you wore I Like Ike buttons.
Yeah, that's pretty
that
sweet.
Great, man.
That is pretty awesome. All right, so that was, what do you mean? Hey guys, I don't know, maybe I'm a wealth of bad ideas. You got nothing out of this time?
Oh, I did bring you some.
So I got both party chairs for Knox County sitting in here with me, and we're trying to figure out how to get along a little better as human beings, and we want to explore some of the different ideas going on. So we started, Randy, as you know from the last episode, likes to tell a sea story, so I just hit record, and we got a little bit of half a sea story in there for you guys. So anyway, like I said, we got Matt Shears from the Knoxville Democrats Party and the GOP party chair, Randy Pace, both sit in the room, and the goal is to get through about an hour or so without a punch thrown, and I think we can succeed. So this out of the way, and oh wait, hold on a second, man, I screwed it up. Anyway, fine, we'll figure it out. I'll mess with that part later. So guys, welcome. Appreciate you coming in. I'm excited, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
This is
no doubt. Me too.
Good. This was
Me too.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea that happened, and it's like, I don't know. Maybe it's not a bad idea. We'll find out. But I don't know. It's just like I threw it out there to the other guys on the show, and they're like, ugh. And usually to me, that is, then I need to try.
Wow.
Like when they respond like, I don't know if it's a good idea, then I'm like, yep, I'm going to do it. I mean, that's how we started. That's how I got Gina Oster on in the first place. They're like, are you sure we should be calling people? It's like, sure, why not? And then we did it. So yeah, welcome, guys. Appreciate you doing it. For the real backstory is like when it first came to me, the idea of doing a Mystery Science Theater, watching a debate with you guys would be the best, but wholly understand that you guys have more pressing obligations than me for an actual debate night. And at this point, we may not get another one anyway. We'll have to wait and see. Mr. Trump got the sickness and he won't do things over the phone. That's just his style. So anyway, but yeah, so for me, the big thing is, and again, the backstory of the whole show in general is, for all intents and purposes, we have two left-leaning individuals, a right-leaning individual, and then whatever you want to call the libertarian that is me, group of friends that hang out all together all the time, and we fight about all sorts of stuff, but at the end of the day, we're still friends. And I think when you get into the bigger picture of at least the media version of what we see in the world, is that's not how things work. Like, I feel like it at least maybe I'm reading into it, but it feels to me like being able to have good, solid, even heated discourse ends up drawing that divide, and then we push apart from there, instead of at least having an understanding of we're all human beings, we're all Americans, we all have some base similar goals, we have different ways of getting to our goals, I guess. But so for me, I wanted to start, that's how I wanted to do this thing, is I wanted to show an example, and so I'm now charging you guys to stay on good behavior, of how opposing ideas can sit down and talk to each other and not hate each other at the end. But two, also, I want to start with trying to find things that we do agree on, realistically. And I guess one thing, too, that I guess we should give a little tick on it is, just for clarification, I want to run on the county party conversation, not you as an individual. Or if you want to put your individual take on it, I want to try to make sure we differentiate which one's which. So if it's, hey, this is how I feel about this, but this is the party stance on it, I just want to make sure that I know and the audience knows which one's which. Because I would assume that you're allowed to be a human being inside your party and maybe not be 100% in line with everything. So if you do jump off a little bit, then I just want to make sure we clarify that. So, open question. What do you guys think? Where do we start? Like, what's something that we could probably all agree on that is an issue that maybe needs to be tackled? And then we can kind of get into the nitty-gritty of, like, how to do it.
Yeah.
Do we flip a coin?
No, see, there's
you
no
have to pick. You're the moderator.
Well, who wants to go first? Raise your hand.
Go first.
Okay.
Matt goes first. There we go.
Thank you, Randy. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. Glad to be here, and glad to meet Randy in person. We've spoken over the phone before, but glad to meet face to face. I was thinking about this on the way over here, and actually, what struck me, and I think this is something that we both really agree on, is that our Americans, we believe in private property. We believe that people are allowed to display and have their own views. And we have had situations recently, and I'm sure the Republicans have had situations recently too, where yard signs have been stolen or defaced. And I think that we could both condemn that activity and would both agree that no one's yard signs should be messed with. Because I'm sure that there are some Democrat or liberal folks who have been messing with Republican signs. I know that we've had people that have messed with Democratic signs. So that was the one kind of simple thing I thought.
That's a good. I mean, Randy, please, 2 minutes uninterrupted.
All right. So
I don't have a timer, so I don't give a shit.
Yeah, and we could honestly spend an hour on signs, but Matt and I both spend too much time on signs as it is. We don't want to spend any more time on it.
And signs don't win elections, folks, either. So, yeah.
So Matt, here's my starting point. You love your country, don't you?
I do.
Well, so do I. So. There, done. All our problems are solved. They truly are. More often than not, any time I have a one-on-one conversation with anyone, regardless of political stripe, regardless of faith, gender, whatever. I find that there is more that we agree on as Americans than we disagree. There are a lot of things that people use to drive wedges in between different factions. So political parties exist for really one sole purpose. The Democrat Party and the Republican Party are not all that different in that we want to elect the best and brightest to public office. And then it just becomes a philosophical discussion about, what that really means when it comes to public policy. And those debates are more often had in the legislature, whether it's Knox County, the state, or federal government, outside of the purview of most people because they don't pay attention. It's dry, it's boring, it's lengthy. They don't want to take the time to get down into that kind of minutia. What they end up seeing is what the press or certain organizations deliver to the public, and by the time the public gets it, the level of detail is gone, and it just becomes a right or a left issue. So, as it relates to signs, I'll say this: like I said, Matt and I spend an awful lot of time, treasure, and effort trying to make people behave. I had a conversation with state party chairman the other day, and I said, Scott, we need to do a press release. He said, okay, Randy, I'm listening. I said, I want to thank all the Democrats out there. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. I want to thank all because it's not Democrats, it's not Republican. I want to take a moment and thank all the lunatics out there that are defacing and destroying people's First Amendment right by stealing our signs, because every time you steal a sign, you help fund the Trump campaign in Tennessee because we have to pay for the signs, and people come back to get another one because somebody defaced their sign. Right. So, and I say that kind of tongue in cheek. So it's funny, but it's not.
Sales. It's good sales for the sign.
But it's not. That's not the point. The point is, it's a First Amendment right, and I don't think anybody's First Amendment right should ever be infringed upon. Whether you agree with them or not. Defacing a political sign, if that's what you need to do to express yourself, you got bigger problems, and you're not bringing anything to the table of value when it comes to setting public policy.
I was literally reading a story when I set up. I think it was in Georgia. I'm not 100% where it was, but that somebody had taped razor blades to their sign because they kept getting them stolen.
Yep.
And
heard that same story.
And then it cut up some city or county worker or whatever because the guy had put his sign too close to the road, so the county worker was coming to move it. So the libertarian in me says, it's in my yard or not. That's my stance. It's like, was the sign what is too close to the road if it's in my yard? But whatever.
Well, yeah, we've had record-breaking sign sales as well, and some people keep coming back. So
I've
puts
seen
more
a lot,
money in the coffers for everybody.
and I made this joke I think with when Courtney was on a couple last week or whatever, is that like, or maybe it was Jane. Anyway, that I've noticed a lot more signs, and I don't know if it's as much as I'm paying more attention as it is there are more signs. Like I think I don't recall in my neighborhood 4 years ago having anything, maybe like one or two here and there, but I mean there's like 1 in 3 houses in this neighborhood has a sign one way or the other, which is not in my recollection. But again, it might be me paying more attention now than I was in the past. So we all agree that stealing other people's shit's a problem. Okay.
Yes.
That's basic.
Well, there's a group of people out there that don't like political signs or any signage of any kind. There's
certain HOAs that have
I refer to them
And
as
that's fine.
the sign Nazis. You
But
know.
I mean, see, an HOA is just I mean that is an agreed upon contract to live in a neighborhood that you want all rosy and perfect. I mean, but that's agreed upon when you know that when you're buying the house.
So in the state of Tennessee, there's actually a state statute that even though you live in an HOA, if you own the property, if it's deeded to you,
you can still place signs.
You can place the sign. Now there, and again, we're gonna start a legal battle somewhere. I've been the president of 2 homeowners association. I assure you,
as long as y'all pay the legal fees.
Yeah, I assure you, there are people out there that just they're going to fight tooth and nail and spend somebody else's money to do it. It's ridiculous.
Right. I've noticed a couple of neighborhoods that apparently their agreement is that it can't be in the neighborhood, but like all in that little lawn right in front of the sign for the neighborhood, like every single sign that's an option pretty much right now.
Yeah, I think I do. I think people they lose sight of the fact that it's an expression of your First Amendment right. Is all it is. It really is.
And from a political standpoint, signs really do not win elections. And sometimes it boosts name recognition. It makes people see the person. But sometimes people get in a bit of a hissy fit about signs or wanting a sign if you don't have signs, and they just like...
If you're going to run for public office, let it go. That's my best advice to you. Don't get twisted
defensive over
the signs. It's going to happen. It's the nature of the beast. Don't get twisted over it.
I guess I've admitted a crime or two on here before. Like I remember... I guess it was probably the 2018 midterm. It was the day after, though. Like, it was after Election Day. We went out and stole a couple, and then we painted over them and made them our yard sale signs.
I believe you have to remove them within a certain time frame after the election. So you could have just been doing a public service.
I think I was. Well, I know I was because I was talking to my principal, dropping the kids off at school one morning and talking to him, like, just kind of jokingly said something to the principal about it. She's like, they never pick them up, ever. Yeah. They're always they're out there until the maintenance.
Some do and some don't. It takes an army of volunteers to get that stuff out. So the school board actually has a policy set for political signs beyond what the county, state, and federal government outlines. Or the Tennessee Department of Transportation has their own rules. So, and fortunately, the Knox County Election Commission puts out, does a great job in laying all those out. And again, back to what Matt and I were talking, I was saying about the time Matt and I spend. A lot of times is spent explaining to people because, it gets under their skin. I get it. Doesn't set my hair on fire anymore.
I mean, I should, if I would have thought about it, if I would have had my brain on when I invited you guys, I would have told you to both bring me a sign for everybody.
You should put a sign for everyone in your yard, Democrat, Republican, and just see what happens.
So you should, and I.
Okay, so real quick, this is what I'm hearing as this is what I'm hearing right now.
We can spend an hour on signs.
No, but this is what I'm hearing right now is that the 2 party chairs in front of me are telling me, the citizen, what to do. That's what I just heard.
No,
both of you. You both said it back to back. You literally said the phrase, "You should do this," and then you said the phrase, "You should do this."
So what did I tell you to do?
I did. You didn't. I interrupted. You didn't get a chance to. But I thought it would be funny. It's something funny to do just to see what people like. Some neighbor yells at me, "What are you doing?" It's like, I don't know. What's it matter?
How many candidates did we have in the when we started with the county primary? I think there were. All total, we started with something like 76, 82, candidates in our local offices. So my yard during the primary was it was pretty spectacular. I think
like a Griswold Christmas.
To me, it all starts in the spring. It's like spring flowers. They're colorful. I like political signs. I have a shed full of them. Yeah. From years gone by. Matt brought me a gift, and I really appreciate it, and I'm going to treasure it, and I'm going to find a prominent place for it. Matt brought me a gift. It's a campaign button.
1980, Ronald Reagan.
He said I wasn't even going to say who it was, but here's the thing. Why has he got a Ronald Reagan campaign button? And it's in pristine condition. It really is. So we both collect political memorabilia.
Right.
I have a number of Republican ones. I also have a Goldwater one that is really cool, but I didn't want to give you that one. I thought that would be like Goldwater, but Reagan. Yeah.
So I actually have stuff from the 1800s. So and I'm telling you, politics is not new.
Right.
Politics was dirty way back when.
Yeah, when you were on here last time, we were talking about Jefferson.
And Adams. Oh my gosh,
yeah,
they were nasty campaigners,
right.
Terrible campaigners, making up stuff. It was awful.
Okay, so and again, so to keep pressing what I want out of this is like that's a good example of a starting point. But I'm thinking something more along the lines of something that is in government now, and it's you guys. So let's try to stay in county or city. Yeah. Let's try to stay
in government. You mean some policy issue that's being
stuff
addressed?
Right. Like I mean, like.
Do you want a suggestion?
Are you giving or am I?
Yeah, no, I'll give you one if you want one. So, and it's a local issue, and actually, it's on the ballot. Amendment 1.
Right.
And we're not talking about the First Amendment.
Right.
I had to have that conversation. But anyway, we're talking about Amendment 1 on the ballot as it relates to the Knox County Law Director.
Right. And so I do remember here, like I read it the other day, and this is one of those things that kind of grosses me out about it too, is that it's written kind of funky. It's not clear. Yes is... Help me out, because I want to make sure I don't want to say it wrong.
Yes would mean you want to give the mayor the right to appoint a law director.
Okay, so no is they're still elected going forward.
Okay, so no is you don't want the charter to take away the
the simpler version is yes, you want to change the charter. No, you want to leave it the way it is.
Exactly.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's I just wanted to make sure I was clear, but I didn't want to say it wrong and then put the idea out wrong, and then one person thinks it's backwards because it's worded kind of funky. And I know there was a little fight about that one too. Okay, so
the wording was a big fight. Yeah.
Okay, so as the party chair, not as the person, Matt, how do you feel the party? What is the party's response to this?
Yeah, so I was actually at the Election Commission meeting when they voted on the final ballot and had the language. And I remember Mike Arms was there speaking against it. A couple other Republicans were there.
Charter Review Commission. Election Commission, different one.
Oh no! This was at the Election Commission meeting, the one where they finally approved the ballot.
Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Good. Yes,
it was like their last.
Yes, I wanted to make sure. Yeah. You said Mike Arms spoke, and yes,
well, Mike Arms spoke as a representative of the Charter Committee. Yeah. And so actually, someone called me about this today, and we had our Board of Governors meeting on Thursday actually, and what I've told people too is that the Knox County Democratic Party as a political party doesn't have a specific stance on Charter 1 or on the Amendment number 1 to the Charter.
Okay.
And I was actually talking to Democrats who were who were standing for the position for voting yes and voting no. But as an official entity, I cannot say that KCDP has an official stance on that.
Okay, Randy?
All right, so as Knox County Republican Party chairman, I can tell you that the Knox County Republican Party has no issue whatsoever with this being on the ballot.
Okay.
Yes or no, the county party... It's kind of like the First Amendment issue. When you start changing the charter, the Constitution, whether it's the federal or state Constitution, you're entering areas where it got there to start with, and I'm not opposed to change, but change for change's sake or change for political purposes rather than change for the betterment of the community are two entirely different things.
Right.
And while I appreciate the commission's work in getting to the point where they want to throw it up on the ballot, in Knox County, it's been on the ballot several times. I say several. It's been on the ballot 3 different times, 3 different iterations, not all specific to the law director. In the grand scheme of things, the Knox County Republican Party is happy to see it on the ballot, and the voters are going to make a decision. So, insofar as in favor of yes or no, we don't have a specific position.
So we can agree that both parties don't have a specific position on charter.
No, because this truly is an issue for the voters. It's on the ballot.
Right. Right.
The party's been taken out of the decision making or the policy input.
But there's no. But I mean, there's no.
It's not a partisan issue.
But it's not a preference issue on how it turns out on the other side?
It's not a partisan issue I don't believe, for the Democrat or Republican Party.
Democratic.
What'd I say?
Democrat Party.
Democratic or Republican Party.
Right. So, okay. That was unfulfilling, but all right. So then, I mean, if we're going to continue on the same ballot one, then we have 2, which is the
second one,
which is number 2, which is the mayor's
contract.
You don't want personal
contract
viewpoints?
I mean, if you want to.
No, that's right. Go to number 2.
I mean, like I said from the beginning, I'd like to
go to number 2. We'll circle back.
Okay. But number 2, the amendment number 2 that's on the ballot is giving the mayor's office the ability to enter contracts up to a certain amount without commission consent.
$100,000, I believe.
Is that the total?
Yeah. We also, just to quickly answer, we also don't have an official stance on this issue, and I imagine y'all probably don't either.
Same answer.
Yeah.
All right.
How about that? Huh?
I mean, that's fine.
So we found 3 things to agree on. The third one is that we have no stance on the second charter
We are on
amendment.
fire. So, but somebody told me they were going to capture pictures of this, and my standing in the community has been ruined.
So I went on. I went on and I ripped off from Jerry Springer just because every time it got hot, I was going to go. But I did all that work for naught.
No, wait, what? I'll help you out here in a minute.
Okay.
So let's circle back now.
Okay. Personally,
To the first charter amendment.
Yeah,
Okay.
First charter amendment. Personally, and let me start. So, I'm a no. Matt?
On the first charter amendment, I am voting no also.
So
Personally.
on the second one, personally, and truth be told, right at this moment, I'm undecided. I'm still there's still a lot of time between now and the time I enter the poll, and there's a couple of things I need to drill down on a little bit more. So I have not made up my mind personally on the second one. I'm leaning no.
I don't mean to be like an echo, but also I haven't decided.
Oh, gee, come on, man.
And I've talked to Daisha about it and Courtney about it a little bit separately, and still haven't decided. Sunshine Law, and I lean no because If there's a situation like this with any sort of charter amendment or amendment to any sort of thing, if it hasn't been that big of a deal for the functioning of government, then I think it can be fine going forward as well. So
Dasha is and
Daisha and Courtney.
Daisha and Courtney are both county commissioners. I just wanted to clarify
Correct.
that.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
District 1, District 2.
Yeah, I've had them
There
both
we
on the
go.
show. And really, I mean, and again, like, Daisha was probably the genesis of the premise of saying, let's see what we can agree on. Like, when I sat with her, that was one of the things that we talked about is that, it seems like, at least from what we're getting through normal media and stuff like that, is that here's the trench, dig it deeper, stay on your side. Where, her and I were discussing this, there's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of similarities between people and stuff like that, let's focus on those kind of things instead of figuring out what we hate about each other and then run away with that.
Well, I think you can find a lot of bipartisan relationships with even local officials too. I mean, I know that Democrats and Republicans on the county commission respect each other, have a deep respect for each other. I think as you get into national issues, you get into these kind of specific, divisive, partisan talking points, and it's kind of like buzzwords. Like we all have our buzzwords. Like I could unload some buzzwords on Randy, and Randy could unload some buzzwords on me. But
well, I mean, he's a racist and you're a communist, and we're done. That's the end of the conversation, right?
And
that's the national version. That's the joke. I guess I'm trying to beat up here is that the assumptions of how the party goes, and it's one of the things I started talking to you about, both you guys when we had it on before about, and kind of sidetrack the whole thing, and maybe this is the next part of the conversation we can move to is some of the core principles of the party. I don't know what they are anymore. Like, I don't know what the core principles of the Republican Party are. Because we remember, we both started this conversation when you guys were here last time individually. And immediately because I get excited about things and get sidetracked and run down a road on why I agree or disagree with those kind of things and run it out. And so I guess the next chapter of this conversation, we go, so again, on the county level, let's start working through some of the pillars of the party by county. And Matt started last time, so Randy, start this time.
All right. So and Matt brought up a very good point. Our county commissioners, there's 9 county commissioners, 2 at large, total of 11. And what I meant by 9 is district rep.
Right.
So we have a bunch of new ones, and they're sitting down routinely. Democrats and Republicans. They're not, everybody's like, oh, the cats and dogs are
right.
They're sitting down. They're getting to know each other. They're talking about specific things that are on their plate and going to be on their plate going forward. So, like I mentioned it before, and you just brought it up, the media, right, wrong, or indifferent, and I'm not going to run down the road of media bashing. I spend enough time. I spend enough of my own personal time doing that. I don't watch news anymore. I seek out very specific. Let me rephrase that. I will not watch a 30-minute newscast, whether it's local, national, or otherwise. I won't do it because the information that's being provided is it's bait. They want to, and I take that back. Maybe they don't want to, but they are, whether they want to or not, or whether they realize it or not. They're driving wedges between people that don't need to be there. And I think if the American public spent a few more minutes not listening to the news and actually going to the county commission meeting or going to Nashville and observing the legislature. I know it's tough. I get that. Well, all right. So
can you be there till 2 o'clock in the morning?
Now you can appreciate what it means to actually pull that petition and serve in public office, because it can be mind-numbingly tedious.
The problem with that one, the real problem with that one to me, and the deeper I go into this Board of Health thing, the crazier it gets to me, is that I'm all for the public forum. People get their 5 minutes. They deserve their 5 minutes if they want it. But I didn't see it, and maybe I missed it on a previous meeting or something like that. But did anybody bother explaining to the public how fruitless this was? It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how great your argument. It was really awful that it was the same argument.
It was the same thing over and over.
It was the same thing over and over again. That in and of itself. But I mean, at the end of the day, that was a look at me vote. There was a zero chance of actually doing any functional change vote, and we wasted 7 hours on 5-minute snippets of the same 2 points over and over and over again for a vote that didn't do anything. And they almost canceled on my part of it, and I was real pissed.
I'm glad they did.
Were you on top? You were sitting up top?
No, I was watching. Online. But I mean, I think the public forum things like that is still very important. I mean, I think it's highly repetitive. It usually does very little to change people's minds, but if nothing else, it's people being able to express their voice, which I think is important.
Right, but
and it goes on and on and on, which is terrible.
The specific problem with this one to me is that you're yelling at I think that it was the wrong audience, and there's still the grand question in this particular issue it's kind of unclear who the audience actually should be, and that is part of the problem to me on, whether we agree or not that the Board of Health should or shouldn't exist, who's the audience to do something about it. The commission isn't, but who is? And that was the problem I had with it. More than, like I said, I don't mind people voicing their opinion, but
was it the right people to be talking to?
They could have been. They could have paraded down Gay Street and yelled the same thing over and over again. They could have walked through campus and yelled the same thing over and over again. They're talking, and it's not the commission's fault, but they're talking to a wall. And I mean, those watching on the CTV or whatever got to see it too. And I guess there's a larger audience for those that got the chance to speak. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it was really frustrating.
I think it still does raise the issue whether you're for the Board of Health or against the Board of Health. It still elevates it.
And I don't believe it's necessarily a matter of in favor of the Board of Health or not in favor. I think it's incumbent upon the commissioners to listen. I had this specific conversation with the chairman of Knox County Commissioners,
right?
Larson J., new chairman.
I always want to say it backwards. It's I
always want to say two first names.
I always want to say Jay Larson, and it's like
yeah, something like that. So, and we had the discussion from the standpoint of you can't take away the public's opportunity to address their elected officials. Sometimes because they have a finite amount of time, that public forum's really the only chance a lot of those folks have to voice their opinion. Now, the repetitiveness, I get it. I truly get it. Some people feel better once they express themselves and they're there. They're all hyped up for whatever reason. Once all the public forum is done, it's incumbent upon our elected officials to say, okay, everybody that's left, everybody that's still here, take a deep breath. Here are the facts. Here are the facts as it relates to this issue. Here's where we're at as a governing body, and here's what we believe as a governing body we ought to be doing, and we're going to vote accordingly. And I think that's one of the pieces the media constantly misses is, and one of the things that just sets my hair on fire is we'll have a vote in the House of Representatives at the federal level, and all of a sudden the media is just on fire. It's like it's done. Well, there's a whole nother separate entity to Congress,
and they
so the Senate hasn't even taken up the issue, and the media's reporting as if it's done, and it's stunning. It's like there's a process that you're missing, and the process is still playing out and will continue to play out. Our elected officials gather as much information. And it is stunning the amount of information as an elected official you have to take in. And before you make a decision, before you cast a vote, you need to take in all the information. So, and that includes those mind-numbingly long, difficult, repetitive meetings.
In some ways, you kind of sign up for that.
That's right.
Job.
That's right.
You get signed up to be
careful
yelled
what
at.
you ask for.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I got passed on the Board of Health position. I'm not gonna lie, but I said
when we get these positions too, we sign up to get bad, nasty emails from people too. So,
you get nasty emails?
Oh yeah, sometimes yeah.
From Democrats,
from Republicans, and across the political spectrum.
Well, if they're Republicans sending you nasty emails, they're sending it to the wrong guy.
I'll forward it to you. Yeah.
Yes, send it to me. I'll chat with those folks.
Okay, so I got sidetracked there, like I do. So again, let's go. Let's go. What is the Republican Party pillars of Knox County? Like, what are like? I mean, you gave me the bylaws thing, but that's state level bylaws anyway. Like
the same thing applies locally. So, what are you asking? What does
I mean? So just like
the county party stand for? I'm.
Well, because again, I mean, I guess I get the inference that and from both you when talking before, in that what the state and local version of the party is different than the federal version of the party. They're not 100% the same. They don't act the same.
Well, yeah,
we're charters of the DNC charters the Tennessee Democratic Party, and the Tennessee Democratic Party charters the Knox County Democratic
Okay, so
Party.
so then as the DNC puts out a platform for this year, it was a couple months ago now. They had their convention and they put out their platform for this year, and so that trickles all the way down to the local version too.
Well, there's supplemental platform for TNDP, and then the Knox County Democratic Party doesn't have a specific this platform. We're chartered through the TNDP, so our platform would technically be TNDP and then DNC.
Same. So I'll say this, and I'm sure
this is too much agreement.
No. Hold on. I'm actually.
You're gonna have to change the name of the podcast.
I'm gonna
I'll argue just to make it true.
I'm gonna throw stones at myself, and
Okay.
then I'm gonna duck at the last minute and throw stones at the other side. So there were 66 pages to the Republican Party National Republican Party platform, and me being me, I got to read it all. There were things in there that I think were cut and pasted from years gone by and no longer apply.
Well, was it the previous year? Was it the previous platform that was
So these things, well, like you said, they get who said it? You said.
Somebody said it.
Somebody said it. They get they get reiterated every convention. So we hold a convention every 2 years. We have a mission statement, but our platform is, like Matt said, the National Republican Party platform.
So what's the mission statement then? Roughly.
Elect the best and brightest conservatives to public office.
What is a conservative?
All right. So what does a conservative believe? Part of the National Party platform is limited government.
Okay.
The things that we face, government has a finite set of responsibilities. We have a constitution. We lay out, there's more laws in this country you can shake a stick at. We lay out how we all need to behave. We want to elect the people to public office that understand implicitly what the boundaries of government are and what the priorities ought to be. All too often, people take their own personal influences. And best example, my personal stance on the Charter Review Amendment 1 to change the county charter. I'm not in favor personally, but I can't advocate as GOP chairman against that charter amendment. And the only way I can is to convene the Knox County Republican Party Executive Committee and say, are we going to stand in favor of or against that charter amendment? We had a discussion as an organization, but we never got to the point where there was a motion to come out publicly and do so. So all too often what happens is influential people, bullies, if you will, say, yeah, we're going to do this. Is that really our function? Does it meet the core principle, elect the best and brightest to public office? There is a process. We had a charter review committee. There were a number of those committee members that said, something, I'm not sure whether or not we ought to do that. I think this is a question for the voters. So they voted in favor of sending that amendment to the ballot. So now the political process that we have in place can play out without party influence.
Right.
And I believe it worked. The process does work, and that's the way it ought to work.
Okay.
That answer your question?
Probably not, but it's fuck. I don't know. Again, so I'd like sort of
Hit it.
Well, no, it's like okay, so again, I guess to be and to put it in the sound bites that you're usually good at is you said limited government constrained by the Constitution. That's a bullet point.
Okay.
What else are on the bullet
Specifically?
point? Yeah.
All right. We talked earlier. Let's focus on Knox County.
Yeah.
What's the function of Knox County Commission? what governs, what outlines the limit of their authority? The charter.
Right.
Okay. Anyone that's interested in what Knox County Commission ought to be doing needs to read the charter. It's all laid out in there. Anytime a question comes up, do we have the authority? Can we or can't we? It's outlined already in the charter. If there's a movement, if the public identifies or sees something, hey, this is something we ought to look at, there's a process you go through. The Republican Party wants conservative government. I believe, as does the Republican Party, that we're spending all too much time trying to fix everybody's problem, and it's not the function of government to fix everybody's problem. What do I mean by that? Limited government. Government has a finite function. We can't fix everything. It's not, my son forgot his lunch. Well, tell the government to take him a lunch. That's not a function of government. But there are, and I use that, it's a simple thing, but there are people out there that believe every time they have a problem, they should turn to government. The Republican Party believes people should turn to themselves. They should look at what they have, what resources they have as individuals or as community groups. Good example, Knox County Republican Party. I need a Trump sign in my yard. Come see us. We got one. We do that. Well, I think the government ought to provide signs for our can't. No, it's not a function of government.
That does bring up something we'll talk about later. But all right, let's Matt. So back to the more original question is what is a bullet point of a Democrat today, or the Democratic Party
locally?
Today? Yeah. Well, yeah. This is where that's what I'm saying. That's where I'm kind of half confused. It's because essentially you're telling me that the national party feeds the state party, feeds the local party. So to me, it sounds like it's pretty close to the same as it goes up.
Well,
it works both ways. Yes,
yeah. I would say Democrats locally believe in an efficient local government that seeks the common good, that seeks to help steer society, not make society, but steer society towards more equitable playing field, fully funding public education, seeking environmental sustainability within our local community. You want me to keep going? I can.
Yeah.
Okay.
As many as you got.
Yeah. Science-based solutions to public health.
That brings up to me because. And again, this goes back to the media issue. So I think one of the things that at least Randy and I agree on, we haven't heard Matt's opinion on this yet, is that the media sucks.
I like the media.
All right, so we are now almost in agreement.
I mean, there are certain aspects of the media I don't like to watch cable news. I don't watch cable news. I like to read the newspaper.
Right. And I guess to be fair, when we say media, when I say media, that's more what I'm referencing is the
cable news.
I mean
all of it.
Even local news.
I mean all of it. Local.
I like local
blogs.
News. Hey, we got our first disagreement. There we go. Yeah.
I don't mind the News Sentinel is underwhelming at best to me. It is the USA Today with one Knoxville story in it every fucking day, and it's like, well, if I wanted the USA Today, I just get the USA Today. I mean, that's what bothers me about that one. But
they've got a couple stories out of Nashville too.
So I didn't interrupt Matt while he was going through the Democratic Party's platform for Knox County. I will say this. So. And Matt used a term, one of those buzzwords, equitable. The government's not in the business of picking winners and losers. Everyone in the United States of America has the same opportunity. What their ability to access public education, which, by the way, and again, another buzzwords, we need to fully fund education. And I said on your podcast last time I was here, we could cut public education by 25% and end up with a better product. Education.
I'm working on that. I got
education is it's not a matter of funding. and this goes back to electing the best and brightest. We have more legislation, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 60% of what we spend on education is mandated or required by some piece of legislation at the federal government, at the federal level, at the state level, before it ever gets to the county.
Right.
Those decisions need to be made locally. Less government means more money for education. And this is the kind of conversation I've had with people on the left in Knox County, and they look at me and they're like, well, what are you talking about? And when I lay it out for them specifically, they go, wow, I had no idea.
Because, I mean, I agree with I fully agree with the premise that should be it should be a much more local level conversation. I don't like I don't like I personally, I want as little DC in my life as possible. That's a me thing, and that's fine. But yeah, and that one too, the fully funded thing, and I guess where I hit where that clicked to me as you were speaking is you were talking about efficiency and fully funding, and if those two things are running together, then fine. Like, that makes sense to me. I'm good with that. I got Ron.
I am against wasteful spending. Okay. I am for efficient government.
Bill Clinton, you must be a Republican.
Bill Clinton, who ran a surplus.
I got Ron McPherson coming in a couple weeks. I'm looking forward to that one because he's the finance guy for Knox County Schools.
Oh, that'll be
because one of the things I'm really trying to figure out is when I run over here to the Pilot or whatever and buy a candy bar for $1 and I pay $1.10, how does that 10 cents get into the schools? Because as far as I understand it, like 6.5 cents has to go to the schools. But if it goes into the school system and comes back at 4 cents, because another one too, I've got it over here in my thing. It's like, if you do the math, it's a $600 million Knox County school budget, about 60,000 kids. It's $10,000 a kid a year. My kids at Rocky Hill get 50. I should look this up and not misquote myself. Oh. Moral of the story is it's way less. Rocky Hill, where's it at? Do all this paperwork people bring me. It's awesome.
Who brought you that?
Virginia Bab.
Oh, nice.
This is, I don't know. Let's just do it this way because I can't find what I'm looking for. If you sum up all the schools, the entirety of expenditures is $365 million of a $600 million budget. And one of the things I'm curious about is where's the rest of that budget going? Not to fully support Randy in the conversation, but I'm truly curious about it. But
well, I mean, I imagine it goes to facilities. It goes.
That is one of the questions. Is it
creates the public education system?
Right. It doesn't.
It goes to school buses.
Wait, I'm sorry. Back up. It goes to the what that creates what?
The infrastructure that creates public education.
It goes to the legislative requirement to. We already
by infrastructure I meant the superintendent's
office downtown,
the downtown
so
office, the school buses.
All the administration starting at the federal level, running through the state level, down to the county level that really doesn't have anything to do with actually educating children. Who best to decide what our children need to know? And who best to teach them than a teacher? I honestly, I have to tell you, my daughter is just graduated UT Chattanooga.
Go Mox.
There you go. Go Mox. So hey, the girl's she's gonna go back and get her master's degree in what? Education. I have to tell you, I've been doing this for a long time. And the level of bureaucratic minutia as it relates to our education system is mind-numbing. But in all fairness, that applies to everything our government does.
All right, so I found
You're against wasteful spending. I gotta tell you, brother, let's cut the size of our government because we have too much of it.
All right, so my kids at Rocky Hill are 5460.
All right, so back to your specific
5460. What do you mean by that number?
the per pupil expenditure for my kids at Rocky Hill is $5,400 of an average of $10,000 per kid budget.
And
All
what
right.
was the higher district or higher school?
Well, some of the special needs schools are way up there, which makes sense, but
Sure.
but their enrollment's way less. So you have a school with 15, 20 kids in it at $15,000 a kid, but the math doesn't equal out, and that's what I'm again the total being 360 something million of 600 million is the real question. So anyway, I'm getting Ron McPherson in to try to help me track this down, because I mean it may be they're like Matt was saying, there is other parts and pieces that I don't know what the entirety of that number includes. I don't know if that includes the transportation system.
Overregulation.
You're probably right. I'm not saying
Overregulation.
I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to agree or disagree with that.
I would say that it helps fund the resources that all students use for the holistic education of the entire county.
I mean, but $240 million, that's a lot of money. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. But again, I could be wholly wrong. But that to me is just picking on the phrase of fully funded or whatever. All right, so shifting back to the original topic of things that I think you guys should agree on.
Well, I noticed so did you bring this, Randy?
I did.
He did. He doesn't get it. Don't even bring it up. He doesn't get it.
Oh,
His
okay.
nephew had to explain it to him. He was telling me the
this?
story earlier.
Okay.
Yes, my nephew had to explain
well, I was
that
going
to
to
me.
ask if. Well, I mean, there are some libertarians, very conservative people who would like to legalize.
That is one. That was
and-
Hey,
eventually.
yeah, let's
tax
talk
it.
about that.
and
Why
tax
not?
it and tax it.
That's what I mean.
Although I don't have an official stance on that, nor does the Knox County Democratic Party, but it is a. I will say, outside as a personal citizen, I do believe that as we go forward, I think that with states that have seen loss in revenues due to COVID, that a quick change to increase revenue would be to legalize marijuana. And I'm just sociologically, I'm just interested in political science. I'm interested to see if that will come about in more states over the next couple of years.
I was like, my argument on that is like you neither of you probably were here when the lottery went in, right? Were either of you here when the lottery came to Tennessee?
No.
So like essentially the lottery, like it was one that like everybody talks about Tennessee's the buckle of the Bible Belt, kind of. That's one of the jokes. And like we're never going to let lottery in here and gambling, blah blah blah. And then somebody stood on the floor in Nashville and was like, "Do you guys realize how much money is leaving this state to Kentucky and Georgia and Alabama and all these other states that have lottery around us in tax revenue that we're not getting because people are driving to Kentucky to buy lottery tickets?" And then he threw out a number, and they're like, "Oh!" And then we had the lottery the next cycle. And my hope is that somebody learned their lesson from that game and goes, and before Kentucky, Georgia, North Carolina, and everybody else legalizes, we go, hey, let's not be the last one to do it. Let's be one of the first ones in the area to do it instead. That's my hope. Could be wrong.
So
Probably wrong, but
So I think I can probably count on one hand the number of lottery tickets I've bought in my lifetime. However,
Agreed.
however, I have
when it
been to
first came out,
Las
I had trouble
Vegas.
with
I lived not too far from Atlantic City for a while, and I bet on sports. And
Did you ever do pretty well? Did you ever win any?
so gambling's not designed for you to win. and I think that's one of the reasons I think government should not have a hand in the revenue of gambling, or supporting or putting in place that type of act. That simply is not, it's not a function of government to create money it can spend. It's not a function of government. I think it's absurd. However, I'm all for somebody, if they want to have a crap game in their backyard. I think I may not have told you the story. I was a young man, started a crap game with a buddy of mine in his barn, and Sheriff Tommy Cribbs sent his deputies out, late one night while we were playing, and said, "Okay, boys, you got to shut down." And after some discussion, and after we were threatened with parent notification, all that good stuff, our game opened back up, and Tommy Cribbs' deputies got some money, and he ended up going to prison. But that's beside the point.
I'm not sure if Randy just.
That's not the kind of government I advocate for.
I'll say,
I don't think it's a function of the lottery. You want to have a lottery? Have somebody set up a private organization to do that. Should government tax it? Sure, okay, go ahead, tax it just like you would any other business. Should the government be advocating for a lottery? No.
Right.
Absolutely
I don't. Right.
not.
I
Absolutely
I
not.
don't, I don't
Should
like
Should the
that part of
government
it.
dictate where the money goes for that? You know, it's.
I mean, with the tax revenue part, sure.
But you're preying on people with vices, with weak constitutions, and I think that's wrong.
I would say, from a policy perspective, that lotteries, in my mind, are a tax on poor people.
True.
Ding, 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 ding,
And
ding.
that's bad policy. And if you have to make up tax revenue somewhere, I think that.
So Matt's advocating for less government again.
Okay, so back
It's okay, brother. It's all right.
So the original one. I'm going to guess what the answer is. The Knox County parties have no stance on the legalization of pot.
No.
Okay.
No. All right. So specifically as it relates to marijuana, and this question, you know, given my age and the people I grew up around, I get it. Marijuana is it's a plant. There are medicinal uses for the byproducts of that plant.
Some of which have been legalized in Tennessee.
I think that the government ought to full throttle review that and look at that as a means to you know, help people that struggle with whatever medical affliction they might have, whatever condition they have, to alleviate the symptoms or cure or whatever. As a point of recreation, it's difficult. It really is difficult, and it's kind of like the lottery. I'm not certain that the government. I'll use Colorado as a perfect example. As a matter of generating revenue, legalizing pot was a complete and utter failure, because now they're spending more than it's ever going to take in, and nothing was solved. You know, it's. I'm sorry.
I mean, it succeeded.
It's not a function of government.
It succeeded in generating revenue. It's just whether they spend it well or not is the question. I mean, my sister's a teacher in Colorado, and she was tasked to spend more money in her classroom because they needed to spend it or they had to give it back to the citizens, and that was a big issue. Like they're trying to spend it because they got it, and that's a separate issue.
Same issue. Less government. Less government. Stop giving them money they don't need. And the way you do that is stop mandating things that simply aren't government's function.
Okay.
The county doesn't have an official position.
I'm just saying.
Neither does KCDP. I will say I don't think government is a bad word. I think that government can be and is a force for good, common good within the community. I think that it's the way by which we structure our society. It's the way by which we create laws and things. But anyway, I want to go back because you said there were things that you said you thought we should agree on.
Yeah, that was where I was getting to, and then we got re-sidetracked with pot again. I mean, so on a broader conversation, is some of the election issues we're looking at right now, the mail-in ballots. But really, to me, the biggest one to me that I think's I've made the joke on a number of episodes about how if we had it as a ballot item of things that we, the citizenry, want fixed, that our elected officials have no real incentive to do so, would be gerrymandering, campaign finance reform, and I forgot the third one, but it's in that kind of vein of stuff. Mm-hmm. I guess I hope you guys would agree on this one. And then it's the question of how do we do something about it. So I guess starting with gerrymandering, I mean, I guess part of it doesn't matter what the answer is, because I'm assuming you can't. I wouldn't think anybody would come out and officially say that yes, we're for gerrymandering. I think that would be a pretty shitty stance as a party. So I don't think either. I mean, I think if nothing else, you're going to verbally agree on this one because you're both going to say it sucks. Whether it's reality or not is beside the point. But that would be my first one. Is as far as like I think it's publicly it's for those that pay at least a minimal amount of attention. Most people agree that that's a problem.
I am against gerrymandering, and I think it's a problem. I would say, and also gerrymandering hurts both parties. It just depends on what state you're in.
Right.
It depends on who's drawing the lines. It depends on who's in control. And I mean, I don't necessarily have a specific fix for it, a policy fix for it. I mean, there's proposals about nonpartisan commissions that do that. I mean, the issue is that
buzzword, nonpartisan.
Oh.
The issue is at any level, everything in some ways is political.
Right. And again, like I said, one of the problems with it specifically is that we're in Tennessee. We currently have a supermajority. We'll see if that changes or not. But what incentive does a Governor Lee or I'm trying to think of
Cameron Sexton,
right, Massey or Lafferty or
so this
I'm
is
thinking of the ones around here.
Yeah. So this is an issue that is going to be a hot button issue for the 2022 election cycle.
After the census, yeah.
Because 2020, 10 years.
Right. That's
we're doing a census, and in 2021 the groundwork's going to be laid. Tennessee has a supermajority as it relates to the legislature when it comes to controlled by or affiliates with whatever party.
Right, because the state, but just for a procedural clarification, to make sure I'm correct on this, the states, like as far as election stuff goes, the states handle their own, right?
What do you mean election?
Yes,
stuff?
all 50 states write their own election laws.
Right.
Yes.
So as far as like how we district inside the state, it's
state level. Yes.
Tennessee
Yes.
districts
Yes.
itself.
But on the county level, it's county charter, county commission.
Right.
Too.
But do we have any? I don't know.
All right,
Does
so-
the county has there been a history of gerrymandering inside the county?
All right, so
I think
if here's the thing, we're using.
Hold on. I want to
Go
hear
ahead.
this real quick.
Go ahead, man.
The lines for county commission are relatively new because they were redrawn because county commission was decreased in size.
Right.
So I don't think there's necessarily been a situation with gerrymandering on county commission. And from my understanding with Charter Review Committee, it seems like the county commission districts will stay relatively the same. Is that your impression?
Yeah, it is. So, and a lot of it's going to depend on how the lines for state legislature get redrawn. So, all of this is based off census information. We use the term gerrymandering, and I will tell you, I have lived in 7 different states. I have looked at the political boundaries for a lot of different places, and I have seen some stuff that just makes you shake your head.
Because you look at Knox County, I mean, you got like every district of Knox County takes a chunk of downtown, like pretty much.
Well,
Like a little bit.
I would say the Senate districts, Randall McNally's district, if you look at, Lieutenant Governor McNally is he spends most of his time in Oak Ridge area, Anderson County. But part of his district runs straight down, a little sliver of it runs straight down almost to downtown. And so it kind of cuts to the districts in half, and there's a little sliver that runs down. But I think what will happen in the future is that you'll see the metro counties, so like Knox County, Hamilton, Nashville, Montgomery, Shelby, have been increasing in population while some of the rural counties have been decreasing. And so that will be a shift that will have to be mitigated somehow with the new lines that are drawn.
So we have big data now. We can electronically gather, compile, and manipulate information like we've never done before. As it relates to the 2020 census, we are looking at an opportunity to truly draw our legislative districts in a way that benefit everybody. So like I said, Tennessee state legislature has a supermajority of Republicans. Their legislators, they're not party members. There's a very distinct difference between being a member of the Republican Party and being an elected official. You might have gotten elected as a Republican, but party affiliation stops at the door. those legislators serve everyone. And I've heard the term gerrymandering for years and years and years. There are people.
I mean, would strategic redistricting sound better? I mean,
no. You're going to see less and less of it going forward.
I hope so.
Because of big data, just because of the way we compile and gather data and analyze that data. There's going to be less chance of it. Now, I will tell you, because of the supermajority, before any decision is ever made, before the first committee conducts a hearing, what you're going to hear from the left is, they're gerrymandering. They're gerrymandering. They're going to do it because they're not in the majority. And in the states where the left is in a majority, you're going to hear the right say, they're gerrymandering. It's going to happen. So if you want to solve the perceived issue of gerrymandering, the only way you're going to solve it is nonpartisan elections, no such thing, or simply rally your side to vote more people into public office. That problem's never going to go away. I think it's more of a perceived problem than an actual problem. And I'll point to Knox County as an example of that. Over the course of time, how do you make those decisions? Where do they get made? The amount of time and effort put into drawing districts is it's going to be less this go round as a result of the 2020 census than it was in 2010, and certainly considerably less than when all those fingers all throughout Knox County were originally designed. You know, it's an amalgamation of years and years and years of census.
I understand what you say about that, but I would say that the idea that party affiliation stops when you walk in the chamber is a nice idea, but in many ways I think that's a myth.
Have you met Senator Massey?
And I'm talking about the
people
larger,
on the left,
the larger legislative body. The idea that someone's political affiliations do not go into those sorts of decisions, I think.
Well, I mean, it goes back to
and I would say I would bet money that we were just talking about gambling.
I already won a couple bets today, so I'm in a good mood.
The GOP leadership tries to draw Gloria out of her district in some capacity.
It's not her district, first of all.
The district in which she serves. I think.
Well, no,
I would say that I would bet money.
You made my point. Her party affiliation doesn't stop at the door. Okay, she takes it into the legislature. No, it's not her district,
so I get to do it.
And there you go.
Hey, we got it.
I'm serious. What legislation is Gloria introduced or put forth that
paid
the majority
family leave, Medicaid expansion?
Hold on, the majority of the serving legislators in Tennessee could get behind? Nothing has come from Gloria Johnson. She sits in the legislature on her phone
Medicaid
and
expansion
tweets that they're burning people
Medicaid expansion is popular
ridiculous.
Across the state. 70% of the state supports Medicaid expansion. Gloria has carried Medicaid expansion in the legislature, which is the majority of Tennessee.
So carried it in what? Again, what legislation came out of this last
session? Paid family
session?
leave, Medicaid expansion.
What legislation came out of this last session?
I am saying
what new legislation has been passed in the state of Tennessee that she championed?
This is exactly why they're going to try and draw her out.
All right, so moving on.
We did get a ding though, Randy. There we go.
We got there, which is fun. I mean, and again, I don't mind the interaction to try to, because just like a lot of arguments, you were arguing two separate points that were adjacent, not the same thing, because Matt's talking about stuff she tried to do versus things that she actually got through and passed, because there's two different things, obviously. But to move on in conversation, because I don't want to ring the bell again, is campaign finance reform. That's the other one I think that is an agreed upon, I think a publicly agreed upon issue, because again, the idea being, if it was put on a ballot and us idiot voters who wouldn't know how to actually do it, but if it was, hey, do you think the way politics is funded is a problem? I would argue universally it would be well past 50%, if not in the 80-90% of people who vote would be like, yeah, that's a problem. Is that something that the parties agree on? Randy, does the party have a stance on campaign finance reform?
Money doesn't win elections, votes do. I'm living proof of that. Anyone that believes that somehow our process needs to be changed to fix a problem that we, the voters, we, the people,
I agree. I'd like to blame voters too.
Have a right and responsibility to correct. Campaign finance reform. Every state writes its own election laws. Every state has its own campaign finance laws. There are federal laws as well. So again, this is not an issue that the government needs to solve by more law. This is an issue the people need to solve by their participation. We're a participatory government.
But the
if
people
you
are
want
the
it
government.
fixed,
Right, and I can get on board with that too.
exactly. If you want it fixed, the people have to fix this.
But
not the
government is made up of the people.
Oh, well, all right. So let me ask you this. I
would say too. So technically, votes win elections. Also, 94% of the time, the candidate with more money wins the election. 94% of the time.
Why? Because of money or because of voter apathy?
Because of the inundation of money into political races, into commercials, into advertising, into marketing. I think it's definitely a problem. And
okay,
so
based on what you just said, then the government needs to restrict free speech. They need to shut the media down because they are causing a problem.
No, I think that the idea that corporations can have undeterred amounts of money be poured into political races, I think is bad. And I think it leads to, I think this is a cross-section of libertarians and Democrats, actually, is that you can kind of create this corporate oligarchy where certain corporations exercise so much influence over elections. I mean, we already do it with foreign corporations cannot give political donations. And the idea that corporations can just go unchecked spending gobs and gobs amount of money on certain political issues.
What are the issues to me that I think that is not a huge shift, that's something that's at least fixable in the right direction, is that especially with the way the super PAC works, in that I don't like the way some of the corporations, which is kind of buzzwordy, but I don't like the way some of the big players can hide their spending into a super PAC, so it doesn't act. It's a hidden free speech thing at this point to me, and so it's like
on that we
if
agree.
you're gonna,
you don't know who's giving this money. You don't know where this is coming from.
Right. I think there should. I don't know what my stance is on fully reforming how much you're allowed to spend or stuff like that, but a transparency in who's spending what I think is fair.
Well, and also they can come up with any name for their super PAC. It could be like,
I mean,
Good Americans for Reform, when it's like, who in the world are these people?
Right.
Alliance for Better Nonprofits. All right. So you mentioned big players. There are deep-pocketed people that will stroke a check, and they really don't care how it's used, how it's spent. And their perception is it's going to be spent for this, and for some on the back end, because I spent or because I wrote a check for X number of dollars, now I have more influence with my legislator. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that money doesn't influence politics. That's ridiculous. Money does influence politics. But the solution is not more government. The solution is not more regulation. More transparency, yes.
Which is regulation.
But hold on a second. If you want the majority of the public to fix this problem, because that's where the problem lies, you need to better educate the public on the function of government and on their role and responsibility in that function of government. And our academic systems are not doing that.
So I was right, though. We agree on the issue.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the solution, the path to solution.
Exactly.
The path to transparency is more regulation about reporting of money.
No, actually, I don't think so. If you spent probably, for a guy like you, Matt, you could probably get it done in a week's time. You could go through all the financial disclosures for everybody currently serving at the local and state level, and you could identify 99% of where their money came from, and you could start, there's a process, it's called wheeling. Money gets, spent and moved from one place to another. When you start engaging in that process, it's readily apparent by our current election law. It's just a matter of taking the time and following that money. Right, you've heard the term, follow the money.
But we can only find that information at fec.gov because of government regulation. We can only find it at Trey Hargett's Secretary of State's website because of government regulation. And what we would be talking about is dark money.
We have the regulation.
But we don't have regulation on dark money big PACs.
So, again, big PACs are not winning elections. Votes are. And people are being driven by the media. But people are being driven by false narratives. People are being driven by
big PACs.
By misinformation. Okay, but hold on a second. Is it their fault you're gullible?
Right. No. And this is where I'll agree with you, Reddy. Is that it is on me because I got a couple of good ones in today in the mailbox. I meant to bring them down here to show them to you guys. I'm sure you see them. Anyway.
Yeah. The worst thing to be
I'm blaming this on you,
swing
Matt.
Voter because you get both sides mailings.
Well, I think I'm blaming it on you, Matt, because I think you went and put me in your computer system or something like that. But you got my address and everything. So, but again, I think
Yeah, the Knox County Republican Party operates off rotary phones. The Knox County Democratic Party is all automated. So if you're getting that stuff, it's their fault.
But I think we've proved the point, though. I think we agree on a number of things, especially some of the things that are problems, and we agree that they're problems, and it's the solutions and where the fight's coming from. And I think that's for the sake of my intent today. If it wasn't COVID, I'd make you guys hug and then send you on your way. But I think for the sake of the conversation, I don't think there's I don't feel like there's any animosity in the room. I think we had a good solid conversation. Yeah. We identified issues that we agree are issues. We identified some issues that we agree on how to fix said issues, and then we also found some issues that we agree are problems, but different ways to get.
And we got one ding.
We got one ding. We did get one ding,
and it was my fault. I take full ownership.
That was fun, though. That was good fun.
It is.
And so I'm very pleased with what came out of this. I mean, I'm sure there was some other stuff that I forgot that I made mental notes to talk about. But again, I think the main premise for this show in general is that we're still all people. Mm-hmm. We're supposed to be able to me, having been in the bar business for a long time, the standard trope of the things you don't talk about with customers is politics and religion, because they start.
Those are my two favorite things to talk about.
Right, and we societally, and whether it's media issues or however we want to play the blame game on it, we societally have kind of fallen into that trap where we're not allowed to talk about it anymore. And so when there is a subject that needs talked about, it is immediately the angry version of it, because we're scared to talk about it because we've been trained to not talk about it, and we need to get over that. We need to be able to have these conversations and leave on the other side and not hate each other for it, and really at least understand that the core humanity of whatever the problem is there, and we agree that it's there, and okay, we disagree on how to fix it. All right, that's fine. But at least there's some agreement in the middle of it, hence the title of the show. I should hit the outro music right there, because that would have been a perfect episode ender.
Would have.
But I'm not that good at this yet. But I mean, anyway, we passed time that I was intending to spend. So if you guys have any final closing statements on our unofficial debate-ish thing?
I would say I agree with you. I think the void of talking about politics, the void of talking about larger existential philosophical questions in society, does harm to all of society because we don't know how to talk about them. And I think part of that is just the entertainment culture. We're much more interested in just kind of numbing ourselves to the world by just watching a movie or doing this or talking about this very mediocre surface level thing. But deeper discussion, I think, will further humanity, further society, and part of that means robust political discussion with people that think differently than you. And so, yeah, I appreciate you having us both on and having the opportunity to do that.
I do your full pitch to get more information on the Knoxville.
Yeah,
Democratic
if you
Party.
are interested in participating, helping elect Democrats, go to knoxvilledemocrats.com. You can send me an email at chair@knoxvilledemocrats.com.
No, that's where I send emails. Don't, because I'm going to lose mine.
And check us out on social media. We've got lots of opportunities for you to volunteer and do a lot of different things. We've got a lot of stuff going on. So,
all right, Randy, closing statements.
So I'm glad that Matt came. We did speak on the phone. It was a great conversation. And I knew that when Matt showed up,
Wait, did you prep for the show without me?
No, this is a couple months ago
okay.
about something else.
No, not yet.
I was about to get mad.
So I knew that we would get along fine. One of the best recommendations I ever got as an elected official came from a Democrat, and I took action on it almost immediately, and the success that I enjoyed as an elected official was not because I was a Republican. It came because as an elected official, I drew the line at the door, and I think that we're fortunate in Knox County and the state of Tennessee because most of the legislators we have draw that line at the door. And I mentioned Becky Massey a moment ago. Her and I have had many conversations, and we don't agree all the time. I'll be honest with you. Some of them were, probably a little bit more testy than I care for, but we don't always agree. So, we're the same political party. I don't expect everybody to agree with me. I have said it many times. I married the smartest woman on the planet, and we don't always agree.
Obviously not that smart because she married you. But anyway, these are the jokes, people.
All right, so there you go. So again, I appreciate you having me. I enjoy talking with Matt, and I'm going to have many conversations with him going further. There is much more that draws us all together as Americans than drives us apart. I encourage anyone listening now or in the future, turn off the media. They're hurting you. There's a segment of society, mark my words, 10 years from now, the most hated profession in this country is going to be journalism.
Damn it, what am I doing?
Because they can't be honest.
Right.
Or let me rephrase that. Honest or lying journalists. Pick
it's
your
fine.
poison.
I can handle it.
All right,
it's good.
so
you can pick on me in front of me.
KnoxCountyRepublicans.org. Hit us up on Facebook. Knox County GOP. I'm doing weekly videos. I try and be entertaining. Come see us.
See, you started doing that.
5710 Kingston Pike.
Compass is talking about doing a podcast. I feel like
really? That's cool.
I feel like I'm changing the scene with our little show here. And I will throw one more thing I think we agree on. Everybody needs to go out and vote.
Yes.
And not just go out and vote. Take a minute. Learn something before you go out and vote. Know what 1 and 2 are on the amendments and what they're actually asking you to do, and be clear on what yes and no means on those things. Learn more about your candidates. I've got interviews with at least most of them that are in the West Knox area in my district for 18 and 6 respectively. Just so again, we found a number of things we agree on. The most important one is vote and educate yourself when voting. And that is it. I'll do the outro. Wait, one more of these. We made it. We did it. We only had one little scuffle, and it was good. It was a good show. I really enjoyed myself. This is probably the least I've talked in an episode. Usually I'm the one that does all the talking, so it was fun to sit back and listen to these guys and talk about the different stuff. And again, like I said, vote, and not just vote, but vote smart. I think early voting starts next week. So early voting starts soon. We're Almost Agreement at gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We're on most major podcast providers. If we're not on one that you like, shoot me an email. I'll figure out how to get on there. If you have a candidate that I haven't gotten a hold of, let me know. I'm trying to go through the entire ballot for Knox County, but they don't listen to me as much when I'm not in their district. So, again, we're Almost in Agreement. Thank you to Matt and Randy for coming out, and we'll see you guys later.